Om Namah Pranavartaya Shuddha Jnanaika Nirmalaya Prasantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Sankaram Loka Sankaram Aham Swarupena Samasta Jantor Vibhantam Antarvibhum Apremeyam Gurum Gurunam Ajam Adidevam Vandamahe Shri Ramanam Dayabdhim Pranams. Last time we saw the second shloka of Atma Bodham, where Shankara says, Jnanam bina moksho na siddhyati. Without knowledge, it is not possible to attain moksha. A very emphatic statement. Bhagavan's translation, Arivindri ahadu mukti ural, he says. The same thing. Having said that, in the next verse, the third verse, Adi Shankara says, Jnanam is required for mukti, which is actually defined as the removal of ignorance. Mukti is always available. It is not something to be freshly got or attained. So all our sadhana is towards removing the ignorance which is hiding this ever-present state within us. So in this verse, the third verse, Adi Shankara says that there is something that will not be able to remove ignorance. So first, the beginning itself, he says, that you should realize that there is something that cannot remove the ignorance, and that is karma, he says. Avirodhitaya karma na vidyam vinivartayet. Vidyam karma na vinivartayet. Vidya avidyam nihantyeva tejas thimira sanghavat. And Bhagavan's translation, அறியாமைக்கு பகை அன்றதனால் கண்மம் அறியாமை தன்னை அகற்றாது அறிவே அழிக்கும் அறியாமை ஒளி அந்தகார கும்பு ஒழிக்குமாறென்றே உணர். So what Adi Shankara says is, this is what most of the work that he had been involved with in propagating Advaita Vedantam was mainly to see that people do not stabilize in that state of only ritualistic kind of worship. There is something higher than this. Karma or the ritualistic method would give you certain gains. You will be able to attain whatever you want through the karma. But karma is not capable of bestowing mukti on you. And he says, he gives the reason. The reason is, karma is not opposed to ignorance or ariyamai. Karma is not opposed to ignorance. And he gives a beautiful example. In fact, the beauty of Atma Bodham is, every verse, there is a very good simile or a metaphor from our everyday life, which we can relate to and understand. Very simple but a very effective kind of similes are given in Atma Bodham. So here he gives an example. He says, Tejas Timira Sanghavat. He explains, Vidya avidyam nihantyeva. Vidya alone can remove avidya. Nihanti. Vidya avidyam nihanti eva. Avirodhitaya karma na vidyam vinivartayet. Because it is not opposed to karma, karma is not opposed to ignorance as such. Vidya does not have the capability to completely remove ignorance from our minds. Why he says this is this? Karma is born of ignorance. Ignorance comes by the fact that we believe that we are individuals. We are separated from the source. We believe that we are a separate individual, and that is the starting point of all ignorance. And having been associated with this individuality, we feel that we have to do so and so activity, we have to carry out so and so thing in order to attain this. So we keep on doing work, keep on undertaking actions, and with the hope that this action would give me this action would give me that. This being the case, karma will always keep you as a karta. There is the feeling that I am the karta, I have to get this thing. So this kartritva bhavam cannot go by any amount of work that you do. Karma cannot really remove the kartritva bhavam. Though the Shastras prescribe so many effective merits that can be got by doing karma, ritualistic karma. For getting progeny, you do this. Putra kameshti agam. For getting wealth, you do that. For getting prosperity of other things, you do this. So for each one of them, there is a yajna or a yaga or some kind of a worship by doing which you are going to get that. But there is no karma that is prescribed for getting jnanam. There is no such thing as a jnana kameshti agam. You cannot do. So that is why Shankara says, karma being born out of ignorance cannot remove ignorance at all. So he says, this kartritva bhavam, if it has to go, you have to look for other means and not karma alone. In fact, in Viveka Chudamani, I'm quoting from Viveka Chudamani because many of the verses in Viveka Chudamani are almost as though they are a commentary on the verses on Atma Bodham. It is as though the Shankara has given a commentary of Atma Bodham through many of the verses of Viveka Chudamani. So the important verses of Viveka Chudamani will also get covered when we go through Atma Bodham. So in the very beginning itself, Shankara says about this karma. Vadantu sastrani yajantu devan kurvantu karmani bhajantu devataha atmaikya bodhena vina muktir na siddhyati. The same thing he repeats here. Atmaikya bodhair vina atma aikya bodhena vina. That is, this union of the individual soul with the supreme thing, that is the atmaikya bodham. Unless this knowledge comes to you, it is not possible for you to win mukti. Muktir na siddhyati, he says. And then he adds, Brahma shatantarepi. Even with the lifetime of 100 Brahmas, the lifetime of one Brahma runs into several trillion years. So, even if 100 Brahmas come, you cannot expect mukti to be attained by doing any karma. He says, Vadantu Sastrani. You may be able to, recite all the Shastras. Yajantu Devan. You may be able to please the gods by various yagas and yajnas. Yajantu Devan. Kurvantu Karmani. Various other ritualistic worships also you may be able to do. Bhajantu Devataha. You may be able to worship all kinds of devatas by so many different exotic types of pujas. But you may do all these things, but atmaikya bodhena vina muktihi na siddhyati brahma satantarepi. This is what he says. And he says the reason as to why karma cannot remove your avidya, karma cannot be, in the process of removing avidya, getting mukti is not possible by karma, because karma is not opposed to ignorance. On the other hand, karma is very friendly with ignorance. By doing karma and then getting a result, you are going to be under the delusion that any kind of a success in this life can happen by undertaking various types of karmas. This is exactly what happened for the Daruka Vanam Rishis, if you remember that. Daruka Vanam Rishis believed that they are able to do the yajnas and the yagas and the homas, and they are getting whatever they want in life, they are able to get. Good health, wealth, and so on. So they even went to the extent of thinking there is no reason for Ishvara to be there. We are able to get everything through this performing of these rituals. What is the necessity for worshiping an Ishvara? That was their thinking at that time. We know all that at that time Shiva came, and in order to teach them that no, there is something higher than karma, he came, and then so many other abhicharika homams were performed by these rishis because they were very upset with Shiva coming there and disturbing their yajna. So many things happened at that time. Anyway, the main point is karma has this habit of making you believe that only by doing this kind of an action, I will be able to get. There is nothing more in life than this. Adi Shankara's main battle in the very beginning was with our own Sanatanis, people within the Sanatana Dharma, who said that this is enough and nothing more is required. This karma kandam, all the rituals. Shankara was not opposed to karma, but he wanted to tell them that this is not the end. There are other portions of the Vedas which talk about profound truths like the Upanishads, the Vedanta portion. And you do not even read, go up to that extent and then conclude that everything is over here. That is not correct. So, in order to dispel this notion in their minds, he undertook so many vivadas, charchas. We know the story of Kumarila Bhatta. He went and argued. Adi Shankara went and argued with Kumarila Bhatta, who was the greatest proponent of the karma theory, karma kanda. So he proposed to them and he had an argument with him. And over a period of time, he was able to convince him. But he was in his deathbed at that time. And then he told Adi Shankara, you have convinced me, but the person to be convinced right now is there in a different city. He is in Mahishmati. His name is Mandana Mishra. Go and talk to him, convince him. And when you are able to conquer him, then everybody will fall in line. So Shankara goes, has an argument with Mandana Mishra. So many things happen. Mandana Mishra becomes Shankara's disciple. And he takes sannyasam and he travels with Shankara wherever he went. Interesting thing is, Mandana Mishra, who was such a fierce proponent of this karma kandam, after becoming a disciple and after transforming his thought process, he wrote a beautiful book by name Naishkarmya Siddhi, the Siddhi that comes out of non-action. So he completely renounced his theory of action and he went into this particular mode, Naishkarmya Siddhi. In fact, Balaram Reddy Garu, a close devotee of Bhagavan, he describes Bhagavan himself as Naishkarmya Niratam, Nishkarmya Niratam in one of his shlokas. Jagat Pavana Charitram Bhasamanam Swatejasa Vande Nishkarmya Niratam Ramanam Muni Pungavam. It seems Bhagavan wrote down this shloka in the office notebook that is kept. And whenever somebody submitted shlokas or Tamil vendbas like this, he would write it down and preserve them. So this Naishkarmya Siddhi is a great Prakarana Grantha where in a very simple set of verses, Mandana Mishra describes about the Vedantic principles, the fundamentals of Advaita Vedanta. Coming back here, he had to conquer this thought process in the minds of people that rituals are the end in themselves and nothing more is required. He had to tell them that karma has got a role to play. Karma has this role, and that is It will purify the minds. It cannot do anything more than that. But the purity of mind is very important for the next stage of going towards jnana. Karma is important, but don't stagnate in that level. Go beyond. Know the other truths that are propounded in Upanishads, the other Vedanta Granthas, Brahma Sutram, and all the thing, and then realize the self. Realizing the self and knowing your identity with the Supreme Self is the goal in life. Not getting what you want in this life, not being satisfied by this alone. That cannot be the end. You have to go beyond. So, Adi Shankara says here, same thing that he did all in the very beginning of his lifetime of propagation of Vedanta Granthas. He says here in this, saying that Vadantu Shastrani, Yajantu Devan, Kurvantu Karmani, Bhajantu Devataha, Atmaikya Bodhena Vina, Muktihi na Siddhyati, Brahma Satantarepi. This is what he says in this. So, karma is not opposed to ignorance. And then he gives a beautiful example. He says in this verse, Tejas Timira Sanghavat. Tejaha is light. Timira Sangham is a dense collection of darkness. A room is densely dark. And if you want to remove the darkness from the room, what do? You have to take light into that room. If you light a lamp, the darkness goes away. Nothing can be done on darkness alone. Directly you cannot deal with darkness because darkness is not an entity by itself. It is the absence of an entity. It is the absence of light. So if you want to deal with such a thing, what you need to do is you have to deal with what causes, by whose absence darkness is caused, you deal with that. So bring in. When you bring in light, darkness flees from that place all by itself. You don't have to do anything more than that. Similarly, you bring jnanam, then ajnanam will go. You bring in vidya, avidya will go. Nothing else. No other opponent for ignorance than vidya, as there is no other opponent to darkness as light is. Tejas timira sanghavat. Bhagavan starts, Odi andakara kumbu. Kumbu is dense collection. Andakara kumbu odikkumar endre unar, says Bhagavan. Only bringing a light will be able to deal with darkness. You will be able to remove the darkness. So, avirodhitaya, because it is not inimical to ignorance, karma cannot remove the ignorance. Water can quench fire because water is opposed to fire. Petrol cannot quench fire, even though it's also a liquid. Petrol cannot quench fire. Keep on pouring petrol, the fire will be more. The flames will rise higher and higher. So in a similar way, he says, you should find out what is the enemy of avidya and then try to get that particular thing. Then only you will be able to remove avidya. There is another verse in Viveka Chudamani which goes in a very similar manner. I will quote that. Paravaraikatva vivekavannihi dahanti avidya gahanam hi asesham kim syat punaha samsaranasya bijam advaita bhavam samupeyushosya. He says here, para avara aikyat, paravaraikatva, only with the union of the individual soul with the Supreme Soul, paravaraikatva vivekavannihi, this kind of a knowledge that I should know my source and merge with it and be unified with my source, only with this knowledge. It is like a vannihi. He says it is a great agni, it's a great flame. This kind of a knowledge will completely burn away the ignorance. Dahati avidya gahanam hi asesham. He says, Dahati avidya, avidya, this ignorance, gahanam, which is in a very, very dense manner. Avidya dahati. This avidya completely gets burnt off by the knowledge of Viveka. Gahanam hi asesham. Nothing will remain. All the ignorance will go away when you have this right kind of a knowledge. Kim syat punaha samsaranasya bijam. Then it will not leave any seed, bijam. It will not leave any seed which will pull you back into the samsaric life. Advaita bhavam samupeyushosya, he says in Viveka Chudamani. The fire of knowledge of the oneness of Brahman and the Jiva totally destroys the forest of avidya. To one who has attained this sense of oneness, what will be there of the seed of samsara? The meaning of this verse. So, this almost is an explanation or a commentary on the present verse, which is going to say that performance of karma is going to take you up to some extent, but will not take you beyond to the ultimate goal. Because the ultimate goal, as we all know, is a non-dual state. Karma cannot take you there because karma by itself has three ingredients. There is a karta, there is the process of doing this karma, which is the karma itself, and then the object that you want to have by doing this karma, the kind of, the results that you are expecting, all the three together make up the karma. So it is not non-dual, it is multiple. So the ultimate aim is non-dual state, then karma will not be able to help you there. Like, you cannot sweep away the darkness. By doing what can we remove the darkness? Not by sweeping away. Take a broom and then sweep the darkness away. Or bring a water spray and then wash it off. It's not possible to do. So coming back, the only thing that is available to you is to bring a light. And when you light a lamp there, even if the cave has been immersed for billions of years in darkness, in that instant, the darkness runs away. Somebody asked Bhagavan, how long will it take for jnana for me? How long will it take, Bhagavan, for me to get jnana? Bhagavan says, it will not take any time at all. It goes instantaneously. Why? How? How is it possible? Bhagavan says that jnanam is always with you. When somebody else asked Bhagavan, Bhagavan, you are such a powerful person. Anything is possible for you. Why don't you give me jnana? Bhagavan says it's not possible. Nobody can give you jnana. Nobody can give anybody else jnana. For the simple reason that jnanam is already available with you. What you have, how can I give it to you? You already have it. So you have got to look for the solution in a different direction. All your work will have to be towards removal of ignorance. And then that's what Shankara says, and that's what Bhagavan also says. Same thing. Karma will not help you there. Chittasya shuddhaye karma. Chitta shodhakam, says Bhagavan. Mukti sadhakam. When the mind is purified, that's a preparatory work for mukti. He does not say mukti dayakam. He says mukti sadhakam. So the rest of the verses in Upadeshasaram, they develop out of this actually. So karma's role is very clearly defined here. Karma's role is to give you purity of mind, which is very important. So you start with karma. But when the mind is purified, your attempt should be to remove completely remove the ignorance that has occupied, that has completely covered you up, and then finally realize your oneness with the Supreme Self. That alone should be your goal, says this verse. Vidya avidyam nihanti eva. Avidyam vidya eva nihanti. The ignorance is completely dispelled only by vidya or jnana. Like the light that is able to drive away the darkness, this vidya will drive away your vidya. We'll go to the next verse, the fourth verse. He is developing the theme one after the other. And after saying that karma cannot really help you beyond a particular point, he says one more thing. Here he defines what is the lakshanam, what is the characteristic of Atman. Parichinna iva ajnanat tannashe sati kevalaha swayam prakashate hi atma megapayemshu maniva. Bhagavan says, அறியாமையால் மறைவானது போல் ஆத்மா அறவே அஃது ஏகமதாகி நிறைவாய் இலகுமே தானாயிரியவே மேக இலகுமா இலகும் ஆதித்தன் எனவே. Adi Shankara uses the word Amshuman to denote sun. Bhagavan uses the word Aditya. Apart from that, everything else, a very faithful translation of this. Parichinna iva ajnana. In some of the editions of Anma Bodham, avachinna is also used, and both of them mean the same thing. So, this is what they call as a pata bhedam. There is no major difference in the meaning actually. Parichinna means limited. Iva ajnanat, because of ignorance, it looks as though that we are limited. We are limited in time, we are limited in space, we are limited in our Shakti. In so many things we are limited. That's what we feel. As an individual, we feel that we have certain limitations. And then we need to work on ourselves in order to conquer these limitations. Parichinna iva. So what Shankara says is, your opinion of yourself as a limited being has to be re-examined by you, because you are really not limited. You are the infinite being. What makes you believe that you are limited? That you are limited to your body, confined to your body, that you are a finite being. What makes you think in this manner is again ajnanam, avidya, ignorance. Parichinna iva ajnanat tannashesati kevalaha. Unless this ignorance goes, tannashesati kevalaha, that ekatvam, that only by remaining, only to remain as that infinite being, what has to happen is for this ignorance to completely go away, this ajnanam has to go away. Swayam prakashatehi atma. He once again says, Atma is a Swayam Prakasha Vastu, it is self-luminous. You really do not need anything more than removal of what is obstructing it. And then he gives again this great example. Megha payem shumaniva. Amshuman, the sun, when it is covered up with dark, dense clouds, it is as though that sun has gone out. That sun has disappeared from the sky. But what has happened is, sun is there, shining with equal amount of brightness as always. Only some cloud has gone and completely covered it up. Either completely or, it covered it up partially. So a small bit of fragment of the sun is visible, or whole sun is totally invisible. And when the clouds disperse, it comes out in its own splendor. But has it changed? Sun has not changed at all. Something has come, had hidden it for some time, and they have moved on. The clouds have moved on. As far as the sun is concerned, that it does not even know that something has happened. In fact, somebody who is in a different area where there are no clouds will be able to see the same sun in its wholeness all the time. So from your point of view, you feel that the sun is hidden by this clouds. In a similar manner, when the ignorance that is covering up the Atman is removed, then Atman in its own glory will be revealed to you. The Atman which is ever present, which is never absent, that Atman looks as though that you have gained Atman. What you have done is only removed the ignorance that was covering up this Atman. So, Ariyamayal Maraivanadu Pol. Not really not have been hidden. Maraivanadu Pol is as though that has been covered up. Atma Arave. Atma Arave Agdu Ekamadahi. Arave Agdu means when that covering has been removed, when that whatever has been hiding you has been removed, Ekamadahi, it becomes one whole thing, unfragmented. Niraivai, Purna Vastu. Bhagavan says Niraivai, Yelahume, Prakasham. Yelahum in Tamil means Prakasham. So it shines by itself. Tanaha. Iriyave means Vilahave. When the clouds disperse, Megha Ilahuma Adityan Yanave. When this clouds disperse, this Aditya comes out in his own glory, and that's what happens. So nothing has really happened to the Atman. Your vision of the Atman has been completely hidden. This hiding thing is actually the one of the main obstacles. This is what we have got to really understand, that something has been hiding my glory, and that has to glow. That has to go. So all your sadhana will be to remove this ignorance that has been covering you up. Tanaha ilakume is a very important thing. Swayam prakashate. Atma does not need any other illuminator. Atma not only illumines itself, it illumines the whole world also. It is your illumination that is making this world seen. You are able to see the world because of your own illumination. It is not the world that is illuminating you, but you are the one who is illuminating the entire world. Nana Chidra Ghatodharastita Maha Deepa Prabha Bhaswaram, says Dakshinamurti Stotram. Deepa Prabha Bhaswaram. Janamiti Tameva Bhantam Anubhati, says Adi Shankara in the Dakshinamurti Stotram. He says that first you are illuminated. That is, your consciousness, this I consciousness, is the first one that happens. And afterwards, all these other things are illumined by your own consciousness. It is meaningless to think of this consciousness without the I consciousness. Everything is only this I consciousness. This I alone is shining all the time, and in the process of that shine, it is able to illumine the entire universe. So that is the Dakshinamurti Stotram. So there he says, Swayam Prakashate. This illumination is the characteristic of the Atman. It all the time, it is there, self-shine. And this self-shining Vastu, Swayam Prakasha Vastu, is the one that first illumines your mind. And when the mind is illumined, then with the mind's illumination, you are able to see your body for yourself. And with the body, with the indriyas of the body, the senses of the body, you are able to see a world around you. And the world picture, we think, is something that by itself is existing. That is our ignorance. This world is existing on account of me. This is the highest truth that one has to really understand. There is no universe out there without there being an observer. There is nothing out there without independent of the observer or without there being an observer. This is a statement made by the particle physicists today. Quantum physics says that nothing is out there independent of the observer, almost like our Vedanta. So this is what is being emphasized in this particular verse, saying that first you know yourself, I am, and this I am is the one that is lending all the illumination to the world that you see around you. So when I is not illumined, when the I consciousness is not there, nothing else exists for you. So In Viveka Chudamani, a very similar verse is there, almost like a commentary for this verse, where Adi Shankara says, Anatma Vasana Jalehi Tirobhut Atma Vasana Nityatma Nishtaya Tesham Nashe Bhati Swayam Sputam. He says, Sputam, with utmost clarity. Swayam Sputam. It shines with utmost clarity. Nityatma Nishtaya Tesham Nashe Bhati Swayam Sputam. Anatma Vasana Jalehi. There is a big, magic that is going on here. This magic of this world that you see around you. He calls it as Anatma Vasana Jalehi. Only because of your interest to look out and then look at all these things, this world is existing. What goes on in this world is not independent of you. It is you who are, by seeing this, you are saying that there is a world around you. If you do not see, there is no world. When the seer is not there, the seen has got no meaning at all. In fact, it does not. It is as good as non-existence at all. So he says, Anatma Vasana Jalaihi. Tirobhut Atma Vasana. Atma Vasana, the fragrance of the self, is completely hidden because of our interest in the outside world, because our mind goes out and then looks at the outside world. We do not turn our vision inside and try to find out what is illumining me, and in the process illumining this particular, in this world, illumining this world. We do not really think in that manner at all. So, in this Viveka Chudamani verse, Nityatma Nishtaya Tesham, by constant meditation within you, to see where from is this illumination arising, by this constant the nishtha, this constant meditation, tesham nashe, when all this anatma vasana jalam goes away, tesham nashe, when they are destroyed, bhati swayam sputam, by itself it will shine. When all the anatma vasana goes away, when all the attachments to this world, this is what he calls it as anatma vasana. In this verse, he uses vasana in two different meanings. The original meaning of vasana we know. Vasana is fragrance. But the derived meaning is what we normally use in the Vedantic parlance. The derived meaning is that something has already happened, and that impression of what has happened, the reaction to that happening, is what we carry within us, and that is vasana. Something has happened, and by observing it or perceiving it, does not, once that scene disappears, it leaves a seed behind. When there is an action and it achieves some purpose, it has a reaction in you, and you say that I like this, I do not like this, I do not want to do this again, but I want to do this and then get the same pleasure again and again. All these things, they establish a mental pattern in you, the likes and the dislikes, opinions. So many things happen. These are all the mental patterns. They're all like grooves. They make a groove in your mental system. So when some small trigger comes, then your thought flow is on those grooves, and you repeatedly think in the same manner. You do not have any other kind of a analysis. Your mind is carried away in the same manner. You repeatedly go through the same process. And you have, again, likes and dislikes, aversions to certain other things, and so on. So, this is also like a vasana. They say that this is a vasana because when a very strong object is kept in a box, and it strong in the sense it has got a very strong fragrance or a smell, even after that object is removed, that smell will continue in that box. That is why this particular thing gets a name, vasana. But the other name, the original meaning of this word vasana, is a fragrance. So he says here, because of this anatma vasana, these mental patterns of the worldly objects, they create a lot of disturbance in your mind, and this completely hides the internal self-shining Atman. Tirobhut, Tirobhut, Tirodhanam means covering, veiling. Tirodhanam. Tirobhut, Atma Vasana, the fragrance of Atman. Here he uses the word in its original sense. Vasana is a fragrance. Tirobhut, Atma Vasana. And in order to overcome this, he is recommending Nityatma Nishtaya Tesham Nashe Bhati Swayam Sputam Tesham Nashe. When these vasanas are all completely eradicated by Nityatma Nishtaya, by constant meditation from within, focusing within. When this Nishtha takes place, they all go away, and Swayam Bhati Sputam, in a very clear manner, the Atman that is existing within comes out in its original glory, and then it shines within you. Somebody might ask a question. Atma is not supposed to have any kind of a property. How can it have fragrance? Atma is supposed to have no property at all. Leave alone fragrance or other thing. It is totally qualityless. You cannot even conceive of Atman. So why this word, fragrance of the Atman? Then I remembered that somebody has used this particular word with respect to Bhagavan. Satyamangalam Venkatramana Iyer, when he composed those songs, Ponnulir Vadivinane, Purana Vadanatane, Tan Arum Swanubhuti Tarayalam Manakka. He says, Bhagavan, I searched everywhere. Once I came to know about you, I searched for you everywhere, and I was guided by the fragrance of your Swanubhuti. Tan Arum Swanubhuti Tarayalam Manakka. The entire place is full of this perfume of your Swanubhuti. Atma may not have a property, but Atmanubhuti seems to have the property of this fragrance. People, not only Venkatramana, so many others, when they came to know about Bhagavan, this fragrance attracted them. There is this moving story of a Muslim who was in that undivided India in Lahore, a Muslim, and he was blind also to boot. A blind Muslim gentleman once heard somebody read in a newspaper published in Lahore at that time about Bhagavan, some brief life history of Bhagavan. And he decided, I have to see him. I have to go. Though he is blind, he wanted to be in the presence of Bhagavan. Imagine in those days. He traveled all the way. It is mentioned in talks also. He traveled all the way from Lahore in those days. How many trains he must have changed? A new place, new languages. He crossed all that and came to Bhagavan. Bhagavan was also moved with this gentleman's arrival there. And then he told his attendants, please take care of him. Used to this place, please take care of him. So he stayed for some time and went away. Not only he. There is a story of this couple from Peru who spent all their life savings to buy the ticket to come to India just because they heard about him and they were attracted. And they wanted to spend some time here. They came. And such a thing continues to happen now. So that is the smell, the fragrance of Swanubhuti. So when Adi Shankara says Atma Vasana, Atma may not have a Vasana, but Atma Anubhuti has a Vasana. Tirobhut Atma Vasana. Tirodhanam is the act of hiding or screening. Actually, Tira means screen. In Sanskrit, and that's what we have borrowed in Tamil also and other South Indian language, we call Tirai. Tirai is a screen. This Tirodhanam, this act of covering, is one of the acts of the Supreme Self. In fact, the Saiva Siddhantins They say that Shiva has not only the three powers that we are all very familiar with, the powers of creation, sustenance, and destruction. They add two more powers, the power of veiling, the power of covering, hiding. He has that power. He does not show himself, he hides himself. But luckily, he also has one more power. The fifth power is Anugraha Shakti, with which the grace removes this covering and then he is able to show himself to you. So, this Tirodhanam, Maraivu, Akal, Katal, Aழித்தல், Maraithal, Arul Puridal. These five things are considered to be the Shaktis. It is what is described in the Saiva Siddhantam. So he uses the word Tirobhut, Megha Payemshu Maniva, Apayemshu Maniva. Megha Apayemshu, Apaya Amshu Maniva. That's how the words are split. The clouds that are covering the sun, when they move away, then the sun comes out in its glory. The sun which has never left that place, the sun which is always there, shining with its own glory all the time. To you now, he becomes revealed. And that's what happens. The ever present Atman reveals itself to you, not through doing any formal ritualistic worship, but doing something totally differently. And he is going to talk about that. He calls it as the Jnana Abhyasam. How the Atman, which is covered up by all our vasanas, how can he really be made to reveal itself to us? And that question is answered in the next verse. Maybe I will not have much all the time to fully cover the next verse. I will give a brief introduction and then we can pick up the thread in the next session. Ajnana kalusham jivam jnanabhyasat vinirmalam. So he is giving the clue as to what should we do. Karma cannot remove ignorance. What can you do? He says jnanabhyasam. Jnanabhyasat vinirmalam. Kritva jnanam swayam nasyet. Jalam katakarenukam. Aryamayam kalakam. Bhagavan says kalakam, confusion. The confusion that has been generated by this ignorance, Ariyamayam kalakam, kalakam arum uyir, Tuidam arivu payirchiyinal, Jnanabhyasam, Bhagavan translates it, Tuidam arivu payirchiyinal, by a pure practice of the Jnanabhyasam. Avvarivum ahatri, avarivum ahatri, Ariyamai ariyume. The meaning of this verse is the arivu, the jnanam that enabled you to see the Atman, to have the experience of the Atman, even this jnanam will also go away. Swayam nasyet, even this jnanam will also go away. Jalam katakarenukam, he says, jalam, a water. Katakarenukam is a powder which is a coagulant. So that is used in the olden days for purifying water. Ariyamayam kalakam arum uyir, tuidam arivu payirchiyinal, av arivum ahatri, ariyamai ariyume, neer masu ahatra, tetrambudi yoppai. Tetrambudi is the direct translation of this word that Shankara has used, Katakarenu. Tetrambudi is a powdery stuff. During the monsoon time, the rivers will all be muddy with a lot of, the earth and other things that are mixed up with this. Muddy water flows. They used to take the muddy water in a jar and then they put this katakarenukam, the powdery stuff they put in that. And slowly what it does is it completely removes takes it to the bottom, removes all the muddy stuff, all the impurities in the water. It collects them all, takes them to the bottom, and it also sinks to the bottom, leaving clear water on top of the jar. This is what it does. Why this reference about this Kataka Renukam also going to the bottom and then making the water free up? And he says this is similar to the jnanam that is used for, you know, attaining the atmic experience. The jnanam also goes away, it says. So it needs a lot of explanation. A question can come that when the vasanas are exposed to Atman, the vasanas will burn away. The Atman alone burns away the vasanas. Jnanam burns away the vasanas. By constant practice, we saw Atmanishta. Then the vasanas are completely removed. A question comes, Atma is present all the time. That's what you are saying. Atma is present all the time. It is never absent at any time. Why can not, why can't it remove the vasanas when it is present all the time? How can vasanas gather? It must have been completely, scattered even in the beginning, even before they gather. It's a very important question. How do they survive? Either your contention that Atma is present all the time is wrong, or your statement now the Atma removes the vasanas is wrong. One of the two. How the Atman's presence not able to remove the vasanas even before they gather? So all of us would be Jivan Muktas right from the beginning. There. No, no problem at all. How does it happen is the question. Bhagavan gives a beautiful example in one of the talks. He gives this particular example. He says, cotton ball is actually inflammable material, flammable material. It catches fire very easily. And sun being a heat source, all the time sends out heat by his rays. You take a cotton ball and keep it outside in the bright sunshine. Will the cotton ball catch fire? It won't catch fire. Even though the sun is there all the time, like Atman is there all the time. This is also an inflammable thing. It can catch fire, but it does not happen. You need a lens. You bring a lens, focus the rays of the sun onto the cotton ball, then it catches fire. He says our meditation and all the jnana abhyasam is like the lens. Even though it is easily dispelled by heat, cotton ball does not catch fire unless there is a unless there is a lens focusing the sun's rays on itself. In a similar way, meditation will be focusing by the constant attention process alone. This particular vasanas will get removed. They will be there all the time, but your meditation process alone leaves it, and he calls this as the jnana abhyasam. Bhagavan is going to talk about this jnana abhyasam in his own manner. And the traditional Vedantins, they talk about Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana as the jnana abhyasam. They say that you hear the truth from a competent guru and keep on thinking about it in your mind, keep on contemplating on that. And then once you are you have attained clarity on a particular point, then you focus on that. That is nididhyasanam. So all these three things are mentioned as the jnana abhyasam. Bhagavan, of course, has simplified this jnana abhyasam in his own manner. And this is the one that is going to completely remove the vasanas, the ajnanam will be removed, and then pure Atman alone will shine. Ajnana kalusham jivam, the jiva who is full of ajnanam, ajnana kalusham, he says, is actually He has translated, Bhagavan has translated as Kalakam, Kalusham. He is all the time confused. This confused jiva, by a process known as Jnana Abhyasam, he will be able to completely remove the ignorance that is veiling himself. And this process that you are doing will also disappear at a time when the final release happens. Even this Jnana this, this activity of Jnana also merges in the whole thing, just like that Kataka Renu, just like that powder which is going to coagulate a muddy water and then bring down all the impurity, it also disappears along with the impurities. Similarly, this final act will also pull down this activity called as meditation. And then what continues there is an effortless living. In effortless, continued abidance in the self continues. No further an effort called meditation will be required. But in the beginning, this activity of meditation is required for you to reach that stage. This is the meaning of this verse. And I will take it up in the next session and then go a little more deep into the whole thing. So with this, I will conclude today.